It wasn't necessarily an accurate description of the platform, but was more a description of what's currently happening because of YouTube and the internet. In 1962, this man predicted YouTube. Canadian philosopher Marshall McLuhan predicted that the world would turn into a global village because media and technologies would accelerate global interaction.
Global village is not created by the motor car or even by the airplane. It's created by instant electronic information movement.
This prediction was made 21 years before the actual birth of the internet. And 61 years after this prediction and 40 years of internet development later, YouTube is a perfect example of such a global village. It allows us to learn from people we would never meet otherwise.
Remember that books were our first teaching machine. And today there are many media of information, many teaching machines. We learn everywhere. The book's role has diminished because of all the other actors. It's no longer king, but subject.
A couple weeks ago, I got paid for adjusting the colors in a video, and this skill is called color grading. These color grading skills were also noticed in my latest video because people commented that they would love to learn this from me. Now, I am nowhere near being a professional color grader, but I have put in the time to learn some basic color grading skills that have proven to be of value. And the most fascinating part about this is that I actually learned these valuable skills for free through YouTube videos and the internet. And here is how I did that. I followed 2 basic color grading courses from DaVinci Resolve. I watched several broad tutorials and some more in-depth tutorials on YouTube. And then I watched a couple tutorials on how to achieve a specific look that I wanted to create. This sums up to a total of around 6.5 hours of free color grading knowledge. Obviously, I also had to put in the time to practice and do the grading, but this is just one example of an internet learned skill that I use as a freelance content creator. The vast majority of skills I use during my freelance filmmaking work that gets me paid, I have learned through YouTube. The skills I learned through YouTube have definitely gotten me more work than the things I learned at university. And I'm not saying I didn't learn anything at university. Obviously, it depends on what you study, but in the case of becoming a filmmaker or content creator, the internet and real-life experience might be a more efficient path. This internet learning is still a relatively new phenomenon. It absolutely fascinates me and it transcends cultural and national boundaries on a global scale. It includes people like yourself. Go to your YouTube search history, type in "how to" and comment me the latest tutorial you learned from. Are we really learning from anyone in the world with YouTube? Well, I roughly determined the location of the people who taught me my color grading skills, and the results are America, England, Canada, Netherlands, South Africa, Mexico, Australia, and many more. And this really shows us that YouTube is a perfect example of Marshall McLuhan's global village. The fact that these technologies have made it possible for anyone in the world to teach, that also means that we should become a bit more critical when we choose our teachers. And in my case, for learning color grading, instead of letting the algorithms find the most clickable color grading teachers, what I did was I looked at the credibility of these teachers and I looked at their output. I decided whether the videos that they were able to create, if that was also something I wanted to learn. Additionally, I also searched on Reddit to find out the best learning methods and best teachers. I've done this countless of times, from lots of different skills to thousands of little techniques. Contrary to what you might expect, the ability to interact and ask questions is also quite high on YouTube. The Guardian wrote in an article about learning from YouTube tutorials that most YouTube experts are actually surprisingly responsive. The ability to post questions and receive responses long after the tutorial has been delivered and uploaded is an incredibly powerful feature of the platform. Just like us, these YouTube experts are also learning on the platform, so I decided to reach out to some of my favorite creators and I asked them about the latest skills that they've learned by watching YouTube tutorials.
A recent skill I learned through watching YouTube tutorials is how to set up my gimbal in the right way so that I can get really smooth shots.
The latest skill I've learned through YouTube tutorials is online marketing and social media, and YouTube was very, very helpful in doing so.
The latest thing I've learned through watching a YouTube tutorial is how to do a proper bottom turn on a surfboard on a bigger wave. Yeah, it helped.
Alright, so I like learning stuff online. However, there's also paid courses and written books I try to learn from. Diversifying your learning methods is definitely good, and I don't mind paying to learn because it can be more effective than trying to piece together your own online education from various YouTube sources. Alright, so you've put in the time, you've done the learning, and now you've acquired the skill. How do you apply that skill and get work or money in return for this skill? I still want to create a complete video about how I got to a point of having a lot of work as a freelance creative. However, for me currently, I usually apply newly learned skills in either two ways. The first way is I use the skill in a YouTube video like I'm doing right now. Disadvantage of this is that you don't get paid, or at least very little in the beginning. However, if the video is good enough, I can add it to my portfolio and show it to future potential clients, which would turn into money later. If you're not about YouTube, you can obviously also create spec work using the skill. The second way of applying the skill is at a freelance job. I currently do a lot of editing, but at these projects I'm able to see what other work has to be done, and I can propose and tell the client that I'm also capable of working on these other parts of the production. Sometimes the client will ask me for this. The advantage of this way is that you do get paid for your skill right away. A disadvantage is that you do have to be really sure that you're up for the job with your newly learned skill, because it could otherwise turn into quite a difficult situation. My recent experience of learning AI video production is a great example of this, because it has actually turned into multiple freelance projects for different clients. Alright, and perhaps the most interesting part, the most surreal part of this all, is that we can learn about all these predictions from Marshall McLuhan in 1962 through YouTube, through our electronic media devices. If you want to learn about all the gear I used for this video and my videos in general, check out the links in the description. If you want to see some behind the scenes for future videos, I'm planning to share that on my Instagram page and perhaps also on TikTok. Thanks for watching.